Hey guys, before we get started, I wanted to tell you really quickly about Podpreneur School. If you're looking to start a podcast in 2017, definitely think about podpreneurschool.com. One of my really good friends who's a podcaster, Nina Babble, has created this online course with what she calls the Nina method. And it's going to take you from not having a podcast to actually having a podcast in 6 months or less. She's going to tell you how to repurpose your current business content and create a really quality show. She's got one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. It's called the Keep It 100 Girl Podcast. Definitely check it out, and definitely check out podpreneurschool.com. Hey everyone, this is Vernon Ross, and welcome to the Social Strategy Podcast, bringing you the best in online business, social media, and good old-fashioned networking. And today, guys, I've got a sales guy. I've got a guy that is known for putting together systems. He has a course that teaches people about confidence and selling. And he's got a long sales career. He wasn't, that I recall, always in sales, but ended up in sales, and now he teaches sales systems. He can help you with building a sales funnel, understanding how to sell, getting your minimal viable product out there. He's a LinkedIn expert and has just created a group on LinkedIn. We're going to get all into that in the conversation. And he's coming today to us from Thailand via East Plano, Illinois. So, Pat, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Vernon. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And I don't know how I did not mention, he also runs one of the top 10 podcasts, the Sales Babble podcast in selling. So there's that as well. Just that little thing that I'd left out.
That's how we know each other, actually.
Right.
Podcast.
Exactly. So, Pat, man, what's been going on? How you been?
I've been awesome. I've been great. I've been living abroad for the last 3 months, and it's been really fun.
Yeah,
always wanted to live that digital nomad lifestyle. I am doing it.
Right. So it is real, guys. People do live this way.
I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand right now, and it is known for, I think I read something, there's maybe like 20,000 expats here. And they're people like us, who've got online businesses, and they are, they're working out of coffee shops and co-working spaces. And the weather's terrific here. It's the rainy season's just finishing up. It's hot and it's muggy. Some people wouldn't like that, but from a guy from Chicago,
yeah, that's nothing.
It's nothing. Pretty awesome.
Right. Mom, I'm in St. Louis. You're from Chicago. That's nothing.
Yeah. Well, it's muggy like St. Louis in July.
Oh, well, that's not bad. I mean, it's livable. I like that.
I like St. Louis in July.
Yeah. Well, I'm still here, so apparently I either do or I just like the punishment, one of the two.
Yeah.
That's funny. So there's some interesting news that just happened in Thailand, right?
Yeah, sadly, the king just passed away. He has been the king since right after the Second World War, since the 40s. Supposedly his brother was mysteriously killed. They don't know. They immediately put him in at 18 years of age. He was actually born in Cambridge, Massachusetts. His dad was going to school at Harvard, and he was raised in Switzerland Swiss schools. And I guess he spoke impeccable English and French.
Wow.
And they loved him. They loved him here in Thailand, and really revered. They've had a number of military coups through the years. I think 19 I read. And every so often he would just do one thing, and it would it would just chill everything out. Like when they were getting ready to ransack the Parliament building and take the prime minister, and he decided to he invited the prime minister for dinner. Prime Minister.
That's all it takes.
Right? So he goes into mansions for dinner, and he stays there for 3 days until everything quells. just like these little they say he would just do these little things, he would say these few things here, and he was so revered because he was doing nothing but he was a pretty intelligent guy. He was like a photographer, a musician. His background, he knew a lot about agrarian science, and they just absolutely loved him. Absolutely loved him. America really promoted him during the Vietnam War, pumped a ton of money into this country, and they have a very heavy tourist industry. There are haves and have-nots. That's why there's uprising, but everybody reveres the king. And it's a sad thing, And I certainly have want to share my condolences with the Thai people. A great man has passed.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about him, but I share that as well. And I think it's interesting that you said he had this ability to diffuse situations, because often, of course, when you're in a sales conversation, it's a little bit of an adversarial situation where you're trying to not be pushy, but still get your point across, not be overconfident, but be confident enough that the person knows that you're doing what you're doing. How would you navigate that type of thing when you're in a sales conversation?
Yeah, I think people I don't think of these things as confrontational anymore. I think sales used to be that way, Vernon. There used to be a time where people couldn't look up things online, and you had to go to a salesperson to learn about a product or a service. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who had the brochures and whatnot, but that's just not the case anymore. Sellers need to take a different attitude of like, I have information and maybe I'm going to give it to you. I think they have to have the attitude of, I'm here to help. And if you can't add value to a customer, then you really can't do business with them. People who really genuinely, authentically want to help their clients and help their customers, or in this case, kings want to really help their nations by having an attitude of, how can I help you? How can I serve you? It actually works out really, really great for the seller, because people appreciate that. Let's just stick with this whole internet thing. There's so much crap out there. It's actually hard to wade through all this information.
Right.
If a seller can somehow make it easy for them to figure out what's going on, what's really important, what's not in your industry with your kinds of customers, this is what we found really works and this doesn't, and don't waste your time over here and only focus over here. Sellers are happy to get that kind of advice. If they believe the advice is really great, they will purchase from you and become loyal clients forever.
Mm-hmm. So how do you pull into that conversation? Because I know you've got systems around that, and I think often, especially with this audience and people that listen to this podcast, and of course other podcasts too, but I get a lot of authors, speakers, coaches, and social media people, digital marketing people, that they don't necessarily have a sales quota that they're trying to meet, but they usually have a digital product or some type of course that they're trying to teach, but they don't really have a system around how they offer it. Usually there's just some offer on a website, or, they're a consultant and they fall into this freelance gig or that freelance gig. How would somebody develop something to be a little bit more consistent with that kind of process?
Process is really about automation, isn't it?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's people out there that try to sometimes automate too early, and some people who don't automate at all. Mm-hmm. The trick is to really understand what companies need to do is to truly, deeply understand the value they're providing for a market niche. Really understand these people super duper well. Understand what matters to them. Find a way of engaging them, getting appointments, or at least getting their interest, presenting the material, and then asking for the sale. And once you've done that by hand a dozen times, then you can start writing down what the process is that you're doing. What were the phone calls that you made, or the emails that you sent, or the marketing copy that you put on your brochures and eventually on your Google AdWord or your Facebook ad? What were the things that you used? What was the messages that you were trying to share? How are you best presenting your brand? And as you start doing this by hand, you start writing it down, and piece by piece, you slowly automate it. These kinds of things make it so much easier for you to be successful, because you don't have to think anymore. This is the email that I need to use to send to them, versus maybe I think far too many people study a lot of these digital marketers out there, mm-hmm. marketers out there, and they say, this is the kind of copy that really works. And they just copy and paste it in. Don't really understand who their clients really are. Don't really know if that even works for them. They really haven't done the real by hand selling Because in order for you to really automate, especially in a one-close sale kind of marketing space where maybe a lot of people are at, they're trying to get people to click on a link and buy something online somehow through a series of autoresponders thing. You really can't easily do that until you've sold it by hand. You've sold it over the telephone.
That's
You've shaken hands.
Right.
Until you really, truly, deeply understand your client, you can't write copy. And you can see it all the time. You sign up for these websites and you go, these people aren't speaking to you at all. In fact, it looks the same. And I don't want to call anybody out, but you can see they're taking all the same people's classes, just copy and pasting it in, because they don't deeply and truly understand the value that they're bringing their clients.
Wow, that's interesting.
Oh yeah.
Well, because. So I don't know if you follow Frank Kern at all, but he just had this major push for his Mass Control 2.0. It's a sales system based on Infusionsoft processes and some of the stuff around automation, because he's a big Infusionsoft guy.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have a system, I think the popular mantra out there, if you have a system that works and you plug the right stuff into the right system, you'll make money. And I know that that's true, but I think that there's a deeper level to it, and I think you just touched on it, is that if you haven't understood who your audience is, if you really don't understand that, and you can't sell to them without the aid of a system that walks them through steps because somebody told you need to take them through all these steps, that it really won't work. No, and you see this too, and I don't mean to beat up on Infusionsoft or Entreport or Aweber or any of these automated email systems, but they make a lot of claims. Well, but the truth is, you've got to until you really get what your business is and how you're adding value, because it's really about value. This is something that's unique about human beings is we have this ability to do a trade, right? I got a lot of apples and you got a lot of bananas. Let's do a trade here. I give you an apple, you give me a banana. Other animals don't do that. We're the only ones that do that. But sometimes these trades aren't really, really clear. That's where sales comes in. That I got to make it clear to you that the value of this banana, why you want to eat this banana, and this banana is like something you've never had before. That whole thing, this whole process is what we call sales, and it goes way back to the Silk Road, 2,500 years ago. People have been making sales. I think in this whole digital marketing kind of world that we kind of live in, that is constantly getting forgotten, and I think that's why people aren't successful in it. That's interesting too. I mean, so basically, what you're saying is the sales game hasn't really changed. It's still the same process of establishing rapport with somebody that you want to trade with.
Right. And how do you do that? On one-on-one, right? If you're at the market, like I'm in Thailand, there's a lot of night markets here, and people are pushing their stuff, and what they're trying to do is, you see people trying to do is say, hey, look what I've got here, and try to smile and try to get you to slow down, and they're trying to get you to hear a little bit about it, kind of like you're at a trade show,
right?
And they're handing you a card or something, and they're just trying to create a conversation. Like, well, what do you like about what you see here? Tell me why you thought this was interesting, and trying to get people to talk. Because once you kind of get people to talk about what they're interested in, then maybe they start sharing you what their desires are, or what the problems are they're trying to solve. Because that's usually sales is all in there. It's either some kind of fear or desire that they're trying to deal with, and then build up this conversation, and then you can kind of show people, hey, how about this? What do you think about this? Does this look like this would work? And then people go, yeah, maybe it would. Well, how much is this? And then there's a little negotiation, and then they go, you want to buy it? Asking for the sale. And they buy it, right? Yeah. And they put it in the bag, you exchange the money, and you're good to go. That's how sales has been for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I believe, what people need to continue to do today before they can even think about automating and putting processes in place.
So the one-on-one conversation is scary. How does one build the confidence to do that?
Excellent question. And I'm glad you asked that. Because I believe anybody can become proficient at sales. They may not be great at it, but good enough to make, to get started. Because I believe that if there's 4 characteristics that great sellers have, and I also believe that the majority of the people have most of these characteristics. And if you have the majority of these characteristics, you can be successful.
Okay,
Great sellers have heat. HEAT. The first thing they have is this idea of being helpful. If they have an attitude, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help my client, whether I sell them or not, that goes a long ways, and people are much more open to buy from people who are genuinely there to help them and add value to their lives.
Okay.
Right? So ask yourself this question in your life. Where are you helpful? Are you helpful to other people? Like
right.
Your family, your friends, people at work. And if you are, that's great. That's an important key. The next thing is E. They have emotional intelligence, empathy with the situation that other people are in. So not only do I'm genuinely asking to see if I can help you, that I really do care how it turns out, that you are struggling with something or you have some deep desire for something. And I'm willing to dig in and listen. And listening is something that far too many people are terrible at. Really listen to what is going on in their lives. Just have empathy for that situation. So the next thing you need to have is empathy for the other person. Helpful and have empathy. The next thing, the third thing, is astuteness. That's the A of the heat. That you're smart, that you understand their world so well that you can connect dots they can't easily see. So when you're having a conversation with them, you can share things like, well, you mentioned that you were having this kind of problem. When this happens, do you often see this other thing happening? Oh, yeah, I do. Do you often see that because of that, you have these other costs in your business? Oh, yeah. Or your profit margins squeeze. Oh, yeah. Or your overall revenue drops, or the satisfaction of your customers drops, or the morale of the people that work for you rises or drops. And when you can start explaining to them, and especially if you understand their industry really well, that they'll go, oh my goodness, you're right. And you're connecting dots in ways that they never have before. And you really become a trusted advisor when you're astute and able to do that for them. And then the last thing that great sellers need is tenacity. Far too many people will call somebody up or have a great conversation with them and never call them again. Never send them another email. Try it a couple times, not stick with it. Because lots of sales take forever.
Very true.
Lots of things, a lot of sales are not. It's not like people go in there and they try a pair of shoes on. If they like them, they walk out of the store with them. A lot of things, especially in the world that I live in, Vernon, in the B2B world, where you're selling complex technologies, it takes a lot of meetings. It takes a lot of conversations to move people along. Too few people have the tenacity to keep calling up and to keep following up. And it doesn't have to be pushy. It just says, Vernon, I'm just calling up to see where you were at. When we left off, you were thinking about doing this, and I sent you some information. I want to make sure that you got it. Did you get it? Oh, where are you at right now? You still thinking about it? And lots of times people will say, oh, I'm so glad you called up. I've been meaning to do something about this. I didn't do anything. Because the number one person you're commonly in competition with is apathy in the status quo. So that's HEAT. I believe if you have the ability to be helpful, empathic, have astuteness, and tenacious, if you have these kinds of attributes in your life elsewhere, you can be great at sales. If you truly believe that you can do this, I think it makes a big difference in actually doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because I think, like you were saying, most people have all four of these traits in varying degrees. You know, usually they're really helpful and they're very empathetic to situations, and they can, you know, give advice and look at a situation from outside of the situation where they don't necessarily have an emotional involvement, so they can look at it and advise on, you know, maybe you should do this, or maybe you can make this improvement here or there. But I think what a lot of us lack, especially people that have issues with selling consistently, because I think when you get involved in any type of business where you have to move a product and people aren't just coming to you for advice and you're paid a salary or something like that, where you actually have to go out there and get the business, I think a lot of us it's the T in heat. It's the tenacity to continue the conversation. And I think most people fall into sales. Sales will happen, you know, if it's an interactive thing. If they're not selling mugs on Amazon or something like that, then they've got to have a real conversation with someone. And I think that's where, I know for me personally, sometimes the tenacity thing, I don't see it as, oh, I'm afraid to make the call. It's just that you get the rejection and you move on so quickly from the process that you don't spend enough time revisiting, okay, why didn't you get the sale? How do you follow up with this person where you're not seeming pushy, just keeping in touch with them, continuing to be helpful? Because as we know, no is just not right now.
No, not right now.
Right.
Unless they truly said, like,
right,
well, we went with another vendor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is it okay if I call you up next year and see how that's going?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. The T is where process really comes the most valuable, has the most value. So because if I have a CRM system, like I got, Insightly or Salesforce or, one of these systems, and a little reminder comes up and says, hey, you haven't talked to these people for a couple of weeks. Why don't you give them a ring? Why don't you shoot them an email? Mm-hmm. That helps a lot. But I believe the average person has these things, HEAT. What makes really great salespeople is there's one other element that's not on this list, and that's the ability or the genuine desire to be competitive and really enjoy competition. You know, they love to battle. You know, they were big in sports.
All right.
They love to win. I think that's what really separates terrific sellers from okay sellers. If we put the C on the heat, we could get cheat. Great sellers are cheaters. But I think for a lot of your audience, you don't need to be a terrific seller, especially if you're starting a business from scratch. Mm-hmm. You just need to earn, those first dozen clients, those first 12 people, and from them, you can then really understand what it's going to take to earn the next 100. Right. And if you have, with these characteristics that we've spoken about, the heat characteristics, you have more than adequate, to be able to call people up, have a conversation with them, try to figure out what they really care about, how the value that you can add to their lives, and then close on them, ask them for the sale.
Mm-hmm. When I look at this and I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking the audience is going to be like, okay, I'm helpful. Yeah, I talk to people all the time. I help people out all the time. Okay, I'm good there. It's no challenge for me at all. I'm empathetic. I feel what people are going through. I want people to genuinely succeed in their business. So and I see places where they can improve. Because I'll walk into some place and I'll be like, you know what? If that was there, it'd be this much better. And everybody's good. And I get back to the tenacity part, and it's like, but I don't want to be pushy. How would you tell people to work on, or what should they do to work on developing these skills so that they can use it in maybe a coaching business or coaching or consulting business?
I think it's about working that astuteness portion that we kind of skipped there. Mm-hmm. Is that by asking really great questions about people and trying to really dig into what they're really struggling with or what their deepest desire is. Most people, those are the two opposite sides of any decision making. People either are making a decision to address some kind of fear, some kind of pain, or to fulfill some kind of desire. Most decisions are made on fear, sadly. Mm-hmm. Like and decisions made on fear also happen quicker. Like you have a headache, right? This is the classic thing. If you have a headache, you don't think twice of immediately going down to the pharmacy and buying the first bottle of aspirin you can find.
Right.
Right, because you want to deal with that right away. But if you see an ad for shoes, we'll stick with shoes, and you think, I need a new pair of shoes, I need a new pair of running shoes, my old ones are wearing out. I'm not going to run right down quickly and do that. I might say, I'll do it this weekend. And then I'll go to the stores. And I might go in 2 or 3 stores and try them on and walk them around. That desire decision making is a much slower process. But people are making decisions in either these two kinds of situations. And the way for a seller to really figure this out is to be deeply asking people, what are the goals that you have? Like, here's 4 kinds of questions I'd like to ask to really deeply understand people and to get them motivated to purchase and buy my systems. It's what I call the sort method. And what you're trying to do is to sort out who's truly somebody you can help from people that who are not a good match for you. So the first thing you do is you ask people, what is their story? Where did they come from? How did they get this business started? Where's the business at right now? What is the future world? What's the happily ever after that they're looking for in their business? And then once they tell you that story, then you kind of ask them, what are the obstacles? That's the L. What are the obstacles that's stopping the happily ever after from happening? Mm-hmm. And they will start telling you all kinds of things. And if you're a good listener, you'll go, really? Is that right? Oh, my goodness. How awful. Because I'm empathetic, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. So they're telling you more and more about that. And then the real trick is then to ask them a question, a ramification question. That's the R. Because of that obstacle that's happening, that you're bumping into, how does that negatively affect your business? And they will tell you, oh, my goodness, Pat, because of this thing, oh, my goodness, our profits are just dropping. Our margins are just shrinking. You know, the overall revenue of sales is dropping. The quality of products that we're setting out is dropping. You know, the morale of our people's terrible, and our people keep quitting, and it's just one thing after another. The goal here is to make them feel terrible,
right?
In a conversation,
yeah.
And you're just going to continue to be going, really? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! And then you ask them a question. What would it mean for you if those obstacles that we've been talking about, what if they were to disappear? What if those just poofed, went away? How would that change the business? And they would say, oh my goodness, that would be awesome. There would be rainbows and unicorns.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they would go, oh, that would be terrific if that happened. I think we could really break through, and we could do amazing things in this company if we can make those go away. And then it comes the time for you then to offer, well, I have something I believe can make those go away. Would you be interested in hearing about them? So we've been talking for maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, a long time. And they're going to say, Pat, I'd love to hear that. Sure, tell me. I'm open, because I'm feeling pretty bad about what's going on right now.
Right.
And this predisposes that you kind of know what they're going to say even before they say it, because you've taken the time to do these kinds of conversations with a number of prospective clients. Mm-hmm. And then when I have a widget or a service or something that makes that go away, they're going to go, oh, I see what you're saying. This is exactly the kind of, this takes away the obstacles that you were talking about, right, sir? Yeah. That's great. So let's get started on this.
Right.
Want to start doing this next week? Sure. That was the close.
Yeah. How soon do you want to make these
pushy.
problems go away?
So your question was, how do you not sound pushy?
Yeah.
The way you not sound pushy is you genuinely get into that person's world, really care about them, and then have something of value that then you have some kind of product or service that has value to them. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to push crap on people they don't need. That's where it gets pushy.
Yeah, exactly. And so number 4 is to take away that pain.
To take away that, the T is actually the transformation question. If we took, right, how would it transform your business if we took the obstacles away?
That's powerful. It reminds me a lot of the problem solution
mm-hmm.
thing that people do in sales. You're like, what's the problem? Here's the solution. What's the problem? Here's the solution. But I like this because it really takes you through the hero's journey, basically.
It is.
Tell me your story. I have a similar story to that. These are stories that are much like yours and past customers that I helped, and the obstacles that you're faced with, and the impact of those obstacles. And now I have this solution, the golden sword that cuts through all of the crap that you're going through, and now they're at happily ever after. That's really interesting. I like how you lay that out.
Right. This is an ancient story of mythology, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Of the hero.
Yeah, I'm big into the hero's journey. It's funny.
Me too.
What's funny about that is I don't know if I had a chance to share this with you. I got published for a book that I've been trying to write for years. Long story short, the audience knows the story. Have been trying to write this book, hired a book coach, finally got through it. As I'm getting through it, I had no plans to submit this thing to like any publishing house. It was just going to be an ebook on Amazon. Not that that's a small thing, but that was what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to get the ebook on Amazon for sale. So, I could use that for speaking gigs and stuff like that.
Right.
Through relationships and pretty much this process, but not with a real goal in mind of just, sharing stories with people that I know, being empathetic, pretty much just trying to be a good dude to people that I meet and network with, and establishing relationships with online and offline, stuff like that. One relationship led to another relationship that led to someone that knew a person at Morgan James Publishing. They hooked me up with them. They wanted to hear about my story that wasn't finished at the time. I sent it in. Next thing I know, within about 2 weeks, 48 hours of meeting the one guy that introduced me to the publisher, I'm being presented with, hey, we want you to submit your book for a review. And once we review it, we'll let you know if we want to publish it. I'm like, what? How did that happen? I'm like, I wasn't really trying to get the book published, but I'll take it. I mean, that was of course what I wanted, but it was in the book writing process. There are a couple things within there that specifically talk about the hero's journey. And yeah, it's just something that I like to talk about because I think everyone can identify with, that journey. And I think this is beautifully laid out in this SORT method. That's awesome.
Congratulations. That is terrific.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Some people would say that's serendipity, but
right?
I believe, and some people would say it's luck, but I always have the notion that luck is about opportunity and preparation. You were preparing.
Yeah.
And you knew people who gave you the opportunity. If you didn't know those people, if you hadn't reached out and actually been genuine and authentic and a good guy that we all know you are.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's one of the things that I learned a long time ago is treat everybody nice. Mm-hmm. There is no reason to be nasty towards anybody because you never know where those relationships are going to go, and you don't do it for that reason. But I mean, if you're just genuine with everybody, you treat everybody the same. Usually, just being a nice person, opportunities will come your way because you've been preparing for them. Of course, I've been doing the work in the background, so of course you become lucky overnight because you've done 10 years worth of work. Right?
Right. Right.
There's no way you can have a sales system like this in place if you had not been through this. This isn't something that you just dreamed up over a weekend and decided to throw a course up there because everyone's selling courses.
No.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons I did this was actually my background is not sales at all. My background is software development. My degrees are computer science. So the last thing I ever thought I'd ever become was a sales fella or a sales guy.
Yeah.
But I had
total
to teach.
opposite sides of the brain, right?
But I had to teach. It does seem that way. Although at the same time, I was a Bell Labs engineer, and we were writing software development systems for telecom systems, and actually I have a couple of patents actually in wireless technology and cellular technology.
Oh my gosh!
But I never ever felt like I quite fit in because I was always about kind of that deeper reason. Why do some technologies sell and others don't? Why are projects that I'm working on really great, seem really great, but no one ever buys them? And I was always mystified by that. A lot of the engineers could have cared less. They were like, it was interesting work when I did it, and if it's not used, that's okay. And they would just be happy to do that. But I was always of that notion of like, how come some technologies get adopted and others don't? And when the time came for me to start digging into that, finding out that became a sales job, first a systems engineering job and then a sales job. So that's what matters to me. Can you really help people? Can a technology really add value? And if it doesn't, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to be successful. It's not going to be successful at all. And it's got to help other people. You and I were talking about this earlier, right? How many founders or wannabe founders that we talked to who've got some great idea, but they just don't pull the trigger on it. They just keep polishing it. They don't go for that minimum viable product to try to let's get it out the door. I'm working with a guy right now. I'm consulting with a fellow who's got a great idea. And I keep pushing him. He says, I showed it to some people and they really liked it. I'm like, great. Did you sell them one? Well, I don't know if it's quite ready. Sell them one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's not quite perfect. No, see if you can make a deal. Yeah. Like Seth Godin. Seth Godin's got a great story on this. He says, if you want to see whether you got a good idea print up some business cards, print up a brochure that's got benefits on it, only benefits. Go make a sales call and see if you can sell 2 or 3 of them. You'll learn a ton, and you won't have to produce anything. If you can get a sale, and they'll say, I want to buy one, you've got a great idea. And then you'll have to back out, of course, because you really need to build the thing or the.
Right.
That's really how you. Because when you're selling things, you're having deep conversations with your customers. You're learning all these problems, these obstacles that they're facing, the ramifications of those obstacles in their business. The only way you're going to learn that is to actually is to actually be interviewing these people, and a good way of doing that is, call it a sales call. Because there's no book on probably whatever business you're in. There's probably not a book that's doing it exactly the way that you're doing. You're going to have to write that book. You're going to have to figure it out your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done that before. Just, like, okay, see if I can sell it. If I can get pre-orders on this, then I'll build it.
I remember you told a story on my podcast about when you first got in sales, you were walking up and down the street.
Yeah.
I don't remember. What were you selling?
Oh, my God. I think security systems at the time.
Yeah. Did you read a book on security? Did you read 4 or 5 books on security systems before you just made your first
No
sales call? No.
Absolutely
You went out
not.
there and taught yourself what the business was.
Yeah. I just watched another sales guy make one sales call, and then I just repeated what I heard him say.
But I'm sure you started changing that, modifying that as you got deeper into it.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I would start getting questions, and I couldn't answer the question, and instead of making stuff up, I'd be like, oh, I don't know that. Let me find out, and then I'd make a phone call and find out, and sometimes that helped. Was the lifeline call. into the office, as I call it. It's like, well, that's a really good question. I don't know that. Would you mind if I called my boss and asked? And they'd be like, oh, sure. Yeah, call your boss. You want to do that right now? I'm like, yeah, because I don't know the answer to that question. And it usually is something about window sensors and stuff like that and what would happen if. And I'd call and the guy'd answer the phone and I'd ask him, hey, what's this? And there weren't really very many speakerphones because, I mean, this was, in East St. Louis, Illinois. So
yeah.
There was a lot of just push button phones and a couple rotaries, but I'd be on the phone with him and they're listening and we both kind of got our ear up to the phone and he's saying what happens. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, hey, thanks a lot, boss. I appreciate it. So yeah, you heard what he said. That's what it does. Well, can I get one of those? You sure can. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just wanted to be helpful. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything
authentic.
Wrong. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, this is what I think. What the lesson here is: you were a real deal. You were trying to help this fella out. You weren't trying to like BS your way through a conversation. The engine, the technical person they're always the salt of the earth. So that person you called was obviously the honest person because they were telling you the truth, technically how it worked.
Right.
So they could see that you're not trying to like work them or trying to razzle dazzle them. Why wouldn't they want to buy from you?
Yeah. Yeah, you'll get more sales being honest and telling somebody you don't know, and you'll find out the information than you do with trying to baffle them with BS, as they say. Right.
So I think if there's a takeaway your audience has in this conversation is like they need to get out there and start talking to people. They need to start talking to their market niche, really getting to know them backwards and forwards, being able to read their minds and know what they're going to say before they even speak it. And once you get there, then you can start putting processes in place. Then you can start automating your marketing processes. Mm-hmm. But that's step one. That is step one of getting a business off the ground.
Yeah, that's crazy. So as we're moving towards the close of this, what kind of tools would you recommend people start with once they get this process down in place? Something that anybody could do, a blogger or a podcaster, because podcasters are also in the business of sales, like for affiliate products. If your thing is affiliate products, you don't have your own thing, which, a lot of podcasters, when they first start, it's a hobby, but they do want to monetize and support their podcast in some way. The way I do it is products that I use pretty much on a daily basis. I will find out if they have an affiliate program. If they don't, I'll approach them to see if they want to work out something. But how would you recommend figuring out how automation works with maybe someone that wants to do an affiliate program that's not necessarily... Yeah, how would you do that? Because I'm not sure where that other part of the question was going.
I think people have to... Let's just talk about affiliate programs. Is that it has to be something that truly speaks to your audience. Sometimes I think if you're a podcaster, you're kind of in that marketing space, but the people that you're speaking to may have nothing to do with that at all, that marketing world, right? They could be all about doggy daycare.
Yeah.
So completely different. So the product, the affiliate product that you would have to provide them, that you would promote, has to provide value for them. And I believe it has to be something that you truly believe in too at the same time. For example, I was just looking at one of my affiliates yesterday, some of the reports, it's really fun to see these sales coming in. And I'm like, the reason why people promote use this hosting company that I use is because it's a system that I've been using for 3 years. And they've been really, really terrific, and they've been great on the phone. The support's been really great, and they're very economical. And so people trust when I say that these people are good people, and they're actually like experiencing themselves every time they go to the website, the Sales Babble website, and click on it.
It's up. It works.
It's up, and it's running, and it seems to be pretty smooth. They believe that. So I think that's the trick. I've known a number of people who are always trying to push some products that really isn't appropriate for their audience. They like it because the commissions are really good or something. Again, I think it all goes to you need to deeply understand who your audience, who your clients are, what your market niche is all about. You need to deeply, deeply, deeply understand that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. it's interesting because people will say, well, so why do you use ScreenFlow? And I'll point them to one of many videos that I've done. I'm like, because it's quick and easy. This is why I use ScreenFlow, because I can do a screen capture. I mean, I could do it with other stuff. There's other stuff out there, but I got ScreenFlow bootleg years ago. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I kind of like this. And it was time to upgrade. And I just went ahead and bought an upgrade because I didn't want to keep using illegitimate software. And I've just been upgrading ever since. I told the ScreenFlow people that they had me on a video, a thing, a show that they host. I was like, yeah, the first time I got ScreenFlow was actually a bootleg copy. they just laughed about it. I'm like, well, hey,
Yeah.
This is how I found your product, and it was good enough to make me want to buy it. So that's why I became an affiliate, because I think other people should buy this.
What a testimonial,
right? It's good enough to make you go legit. That is horrible. Oh, funny. That's awesome, man. Right. Well, so where are you headed off to next?
We're going out to the country this weekend.
Awesome.
To go see some of the jungle. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. How about yourself?
This weekend, it is my nephew's birthday, so I know we're going to be doing some of that stuff.
Yeah, I got one of my kids to move in and watch the house while we were gone.
I thought he was going to move to San Diego.
That was the other one.
Okay.
He did. That one did. The one that was in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, he moved to San Diego. They love it. You know
what? And I totally forgot to call you or Skype you or anything. I was in San Diego for FinCon, for the Financial Bloggers Conference, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's somebody here that I know other than the people that I knew.
He would love, because he's a beer guy, just like we are.
And I'm like, you know what?
Like us guys. Oh, he would roll out the red carpet for you, sir.
Yeah, I'm back now. And I'm like, dog. I absolutely love San Diego.
It's a great town.
Oh my God. The weather, the city. Yeah, there are a few places that I've been where it's like that. Hawaii was one of them. And in particular, the Big Island. I haven't seen any of the other islands because we didn't do the hopping thing. We just stayed on the Big Island. But there's something mystical about Hawaii that if you ever go, you don't want to ever leave.
I've never been there.
San Diego's kind of like that for me now. I'm like, oh, I kind of like this place. I think I could stay here. So yeah.
He's getting married. He's getting married on one of those cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get views or weather like that almost any place else in the world.
No.
That's amazing.
He plays it up too.
I bet.
Yeah. Another sunny day.
Yeah. Poor me. 75 days or 300 days of 75-degree weather.
What I should wear to work today? Maybe shorts and flip flops.
I hate it.
Yeah, he's a sales guy by the way too.
Right. That's funny. Hey, well, the fruit doesn't fall far, so that's great. No. All right, Pat. Well, now I know you got to get out of there, man. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Finally, we made this happen.
I feel honored to be here. Thank you, Vernon.
No, I'm sorry it took me so long to have you. So when people want to find you online, because they're going to want to find you to find out more about this stuff, what's the best place to contact you?
I'm easy peasy to find. Just Google Sales Babble. Salesbabble.com. That's the website, and it connects to my podcast and to my blog. As I mentioned, if you go into LinkedIn, you mentioned this earlier. I just started a brand new LinkedIn group called Sales Babble. You can do a search on that and find it. And I'm, to the best of my ability, want to build a forum that is a non-spammy, unlike many of the LinkedIn forums.
Such a challenge.
A non-spammy, real community of people helping each other in sales. So Sales Babble is the trick.
All right, so it's Sales Babble everywhere. I'm going to link that up, of course, in the show notes to all the social media machines that are out there. And I'll help you guys find Pat. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Vernon.
All right, talk to you soon. Hey, everyone, I thought that was an amazing conversation. Talked about heat, helpful, emotional, astuteness, persistency. That last one is a challenge, I know, for a lot of salespeople to actually be consistent at what you're doing and having the emotional intelligence to read your prospect and know what the next thing is that you should be saying. The sales game can be hard, but you guys should not be intimidated. I think that what Pat is saying is that with the right training, you can be a pretty effective salesperson. And I've come to learn here recently, like very recently over the past couple of weeks, that having those aspects of the sales process and actually following this has helped me. Because what you guys don't know is that I have officially started working with Podbean. So I'm doing some enterprise sales work for Podbean, helping them with corporate customers that want to start a podcast. So if you guys have questions about that, of course, you can reach out to me and you can shoot me an email at vernon@podbean.com. So yeah, it's official, vernon@podbean.com. Shoot me an email if you have any questions about starting a podcast. And of course, Podbean is actually still a sponsor of the show. So if you want 30 days free to try out on Podbean to see if you want to switch over there as a host or start a brand new podcast as a show host over there, you can just go out to podbean.com/VR. That's all you got to do. Podbean.com/VR. That's going to give you a 30-day free trial on me. Most of the time, you can only get 14 days from most people, but I can give you 30. So definitely check that out. Podbean.com/VR. I'd love to see you guys on the platform. I've been enjoying the Podbean platform, and as you guys know, I switched over to them for my hosting, and they became a sponsor of the show. So I'm really enjoying it, and I will see you all at PodFest coming up on the 23rd of this month, where I will be officially doing my first duty as a person who is working with Podbean. So I am looking forward to that. I'll be in the Podbean booth. I'm not exactly sure of the location, but hey, it's going to be a PodFest, so come find me, vernon@podbean.com, if you have any questions. That's going to be this is going to be fun. I'm enjoying dealing with this, and it's timely because this interview with Pat taught me a lot about the sales game and what you should be doing, what kind of things you should be asking your customers, and the mindset that you should have. So definitely go back, take some notes. If you didn't get a chance to take notes, don't worry. Everything is going to be in the show notes for you to grab. So make sure to check those out. Share the podcast with people. And if you have not subscribed lately, go back and find the podcast, resubscribe, because I lost a few of you guys when I switched over to Podbean because of some silliness that I did on my end. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you guys in Florida on the 23rd through the 25th for PodFest. And I will see you, if not there, in the next episode.